Now after installing Windows 11, now let's install the attacker machine, which is Kali Linux. To install the Kali Linux, all we need is the ISO file. So let's get download the ISO file first. For that, go to the Google, search here for Kali Linux. Open the first URL from kali.org. This will take you to this web page. You can click here on this download button. This will take you to this slash get minus Kali web page. From here you can download the pre-configured virtual machines, but I recommend you download the installer image ISO file and then install a fresh machine. Just click on installer. From here you can download the ISO file for different operating systems, for different architecture machines. You can download it for 64-bit architecture, 32-bit and Apple Silicon based ARM 64-bit machines as well. Because I'm using Mac here, I'll download it for this 64-bit ARM machine here. Just click on this download button and it will start the downloading on you. So I already have this installer ISO file, so I'm not going to download it again. Instead of that, let's just cancel it and start the installation process. For installation, just go to VMware, click on the file option, go to new and select install from disk or image. Click on continue. Here select the ISO file that you want to install. I'll select the Kali Linux, continue. And because we know Kali Linux is a Debian based Linux distribution, so we'll select Debian 12.0x 64-bit ARM. Continue. These are the hardware configuration that our Kali Linux virtual machine gonna use. It will run on 2 GB of RAM, 20 GB of storage with 2 core CPU processors. So we have to configure it. We have to increase the hard storage device here from 20 GB to up to at least 40 or 50 GB at least. So for that, let's just customize. I'm gonna name it as duplicate Kali and let's save it in our virtual machine folder. Now after that, let's just go to the processor. Let me increase the processor first and increase the RAM from 2 GB to 4 GB. After that, let's increase the storage space as well from 20 GB to 50 GB. Apply. After all that, we can close this dialog box and we can start the Kali Linux installation process. Let me just take it to the right side. Now, in the Kali Linux, we have two different options. You can go with the first install option or you can go with the graphical install option. Both options are same, steps will remain the same. The only difference is in graphical mode, you can navigate between options with your mouse, with your cursor menu as well. But I'm going to show you the steps for the first one, install. Now let's select the language. I'll keep it as English. I'll keep location as India and I'll keep configure the keyboard part as American English. Now it will check the dependencies and the components in the ISO file itself, configure the IPv4, IPv6 net and give you the DHCP configurations as well. After that, it will prompt you for few other options. Now, here we have to configure the host name for the Kali Linux machine. I'll keep the host name as Kali. If you are configuring the Kali for a domain network where your machine will be controlled from a domain system or your machine will be used by different users, you can configure the domain name here. Otherwise, you can keep it default. And because we are installing it in the virtual environment just for our personal use, so we're going to keep the domain name as empty and continue. After that, we can enter the username. I'll go with my name as the user full name, continue, and I'll keep the username as Kali. If you want, you can pick your name as well, or you can keep your name as well. Then again, go with continue. Invalid username, we have to modify it. Let's just keep it to Kali Linux. Username as Kali. Capital letters are not allowed in the username. That's why we get the error last time. Go with continue. Now go with the password as root. Again type the password and continue. Now it will prompt you for the partitioning options where you want to partition your 20 or 50 GB of space that you have allocated to this virtual machine. If you want, you can partition it. And if you are installing this Kali Linux in your main as a host operating system, I recommend you with the manual options where you can select between different partitions. in your existing hard drive. Otherwise, if you are installing it in the virtual machine for the first time, or if you are an experienced user but installing in the VM again, I recommend going with the guided option, use entire disk. This is your hard drive partition, 53.7 GB space will be used. I'll keep all the files and folders in a single partition like local drive C. This local drive C will be used for all the partitions, all the space, all the folders, all the user space as well. So I'll keep the single partition for all the folders and files. So this is the final configuration for the partitioning. If you want, you can verify it. If you want, you can change it as well. But I don't want to change it. I'll finalize the partition and write it to the disk. Yes. Now, it will install the base normal kernel Linux in the operating in your virtual machine. It will install the Linux kernel in your virtual machine and then give you the options where you can install different tools and different GUI options available in the Kali Linux. Now, after installation, you get these few options. So XFCE is the default desktop environment for the Kali Linux. If you want, you can switch between the KDE Plasma, Genome, or XFCE. If you want, you can select all of them and you can switch later as well after installation phase. But I'm only installing the KDE Plasma just to keep it lightweight. If you want, you can also select or unselect these few tool options. You can also later install these meta packages from the terminal itself. Just to keep it fast, I'm just removing these few options, or if you want, you can keep it. So let's just continue. And this may take up to 5 or 10 minutes to finish the installation of your genome or the GUI environment and with all the latest tools and packages in your machine. So it will take time. Now, after installing all the components and the GUI part, it will install the grub bootloader. The bootloader will help you initialize and start the operating system after powering on the machine. So it will install the grub bootloader for that. Now let's complete the installation process. Click on continue and it will restart your machine. Now just click on this Kali GNU Linux to start the operating system. Let me just maximize this window. So just go with the password which we have just selected, enter here. The password was root, and let's start with the KDE Plasma. So this is your Kali Linux. So let's just go with few tweaks in the beginning. I'll go with terminal. So we're gonna select with console, and at the initial phase we're gonna install few different meta packages as well. If you are not aware about meta packages, we can go with meta package. We can just go with the browser, and let me show you, like, all the tools in Kali Linux are categorized into different categories, and each of these categories are called as meta package. Each meta package contains multiple tools that are available for installation or pre-installed in Kali Linux. So let me just search here for Kali Linux meta packages. Let's go with the first URL. And here are a few of the meta packages that are listed. You can go with the system, you can go with this desktop environments, these different tools for the GPU, for the hardware, for crypto, for fuzzing, for the Wi-Fi part. 802.11 is the common name for the Wi-Fi. For Bluetooth, RFID, SDR, there are different meta packages available here. For web, vulnerability, wireless, reverse engineering, from almost everything we have different meta packages. And the default top 10 tools is again one of the meta packages that we have just installed, including the KDE Plasma. This is just right here. If you want, you can install any of these meta packages right here. Now after that, let's just go to the console again. Let's open the console and let's start the update process first. So whenever you create the Kali Linux machine or any Linux machine, the first thing you have to do is update your system. For that, go with sudo apt and update command. So you can get update list of, so you can just check that all the installed software are up to date or not, like there is some update available for those installed softwares or not. So here we can see, like out of all those installed software, 933 packages can be updated. So this update command will only check that updates are available or not, right? It will not update the packages. To update those, you can go with sudo apt upgrade. This will update all those 933 packages to their latest version. This is something that you have to do. This is the command that you have to execute at the beginning of the machine, right? So now let's close everything and let's power off the machine. So we're gonna shut down the machine. Okay. And then for the same step, we'll go to virtual machine just to create a snapshots, and we'll take a snapshot so we can later revert it to its fresh state. If you want to add a note, you can add a note as well. Otherwise, you can just keep it simple. Now, here you can add some notes as well, like I'm gonna add username, which is Kali in lowercase, and the password is root in the lowercase again. So you can add these details here in the VM itself. So this is all about the Kali Linux installation. See you in the next session.